Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. A very different setup, no models to show because this is the 2,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm going to show you the two characters I made, so stick to the very end to see if you won anything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as the project was extremely fun for me to do. So guys, for the inspiration, I honestly just used these two photos. It's of this classic Plague Bearer art and the classic Death Guard or Champion artwork. And the whole idea for the Plague Bearer was I wanted to kind of mimic that pose. I always loved that piece of artwork. So for the Plague Bearer demon, I had a clear vision. For the Nurgle Champion, the vision wasn't so clear, but I did love this piece of art with the jaw broken and something I did for my bile trolls. So that's the direction I took for the second miniature. Here are the two base models I'll be using for the conversions. One is a Realm of Chaos Nurgle Champion, and the second is a 4th edition Plague Bearer. Fair warning to those who might cringe at the sight of Oldhammer being cut, but it has to be done for these conversions. So for the Oldhammer Realm of Chaos Nurgle Champion, all I'm doing is chopping off his arm and the face with the tongue. I did keep the tongue for a later conversion piece, and I should note, at least my clippers broke during this process, so I was punished very slightly for destroying these Oldhammer miniatures. On to the 4th edition Plague Bearer. Once again, there is a fair warning, you are going to see pewter chopped. For this guy, I had to chop his lower jaw, and in fact, I had to chop his whole midsection a bit to get that sword separate. This model required the most cutting and the most planning because I was following that distinct piece of artwork, so I had to match the pose as accurately as possible. And here's the aftermath of all the cutting. You can see the Plague Bearer is armless, has no mouth, and has no sword. So this guy was quite extensive to chop up, but again, had to be done. And here is the Nurgle Champion. His arm is gone, the face is gone, and the staff got trimmed down a bit. So to start with the sculpting, all I had to do was start putting a small sausage roll of green stuff to form the armature for the Nurgle Champion. Again, I know the proper way is to use like a pin and some wire. However, the more I sculpt, the more I've been kind of figuring out for certain details, you don't need to do the skeleton structure. As long as you have a solid connection point, like what I'm doing here, I'm smoothing out the green stuff to the handle and to the shoulder. Once I let this dry just for about an hour, I can start sculpting right over it, and with the more clay I use, the stronger the connection becomes. And onto the next step for the Nurgle Champion was sculpting the face. This looks very goofy, but it's always trust the process. So I put two very small balls of green stuff where I want the eyes, and for about 5-ish minutes, I go back and forth, making sure the connection is right and the eye placement. Once I have these eyes set, I can start sculpting the nose, the lips, everything else around it. So this step, take your time with it. Unfortunately, I don't record a lot, and you're going to see a massive jump forward. So by right, I should have showed you how I sculpted the nose, but all I do is I grab a triangle piece of green stuff, put it right in the middle, and sculpt around it. And this is the big jump I'm talking about. To get to this stage, it took another 30 minutes of just putting more triangles for the cheekbones, forming the lip or the distorted lip, putting the teeth in and the tongue, and getting the crown of the head properly sculpted. And you're gonna see me go do the eyelids of the face now. Basically, the model is essentially done. I do extra details on the arm, put the armor plating, but I just go back through the model, and with small amounts of green stuff, I make sure I sharpen the nose, the cheekbones, or anything I think needs to be a bit more detailed and refined. Moving on to the Plague Bearer, this guy required a lot more planning. So for the arm, I make all these thin strips of green stuff and I super glue them in place and wait roughly an hour before I do any more work. What I'm doing here is the mouth. I want the very Nurgle smiling look on this plague bearer. I think he'll definitely stand out, and it's just staying true to the piece of art. In the next couple clips, you're going to see me kind of jump forward through this miniature as I got too distracted and I stopped recording a lot of it. But the rest of this video will be of the hand sculpting for the plague bearer. Basically, the hand requires a little bit of practice for sculpting. Basically, you're going to use both the silicone tip tool and the shovel looking one and redefine the knuckles going back and forth. So for this clip, I'm going to grab the sharp tool and I'm just drawing the lines through the hand. Always have some miniatures on hand so it can guide you of what it should look like. But just put very small amounts of pressure, don't go too fast. And you can see here I'm poking in between each finger just to redefine where those knuckles are meant to be. A lot of Oldhammer miniatures don't have to be so perfect, as the sculpting is a lot more chunkier and clunky, and these hands usually have that same look to it. So just take your time with it, and you can see I use the tip to roll the knuckles on. It's very strange the way I'm describing it, but by applying pressures on both sides, you're forming those knuckles on the fingers, and it's gonna kind of mess up the green stuff. That's when you grab this shovel tool and you redefine everything by just scraping up and down like you see in the video. So a lot of hand sculpting really is more fiddling. Shouldn't take more than 5-ish minutes to do this. Hey guys, welcome back. And very different setup. You're going to see my workstation as the models are not completed, so I'm not going to put them by my usual setup, but I'm super happy to share with you guys the 2 completed Nurgle champions I made for the 2K giveaway. And I opted for Nurgle, like I mentioned earlier, from the inspiration section, because I feel like Nurgle has become my main army and a lot of people can recognize my Oldhammer Nurgle demons. So I'm gonna go through each one again, kind of show the completed model and then announce the winners. If you won the model, please find a way to contact me. You can look up my name on Facebook or Instagram and give me your address and we can talk through there. So I'm gonna start with one that honestly, I'm amazed it landed on him. So let's first talk about the miniature. This is the plague bearer that I made from I believe this is the 3rd edition Nurgle demon. So my whole army is the first quote-unquote edition plague bearers, the ones they made for Realm of Chaos and Lost in the Damned. This guy I think was made for 4th edition, 4th and 5th edition, and he is such a great model. You saw the work in progress a little bit. I didn't record it too much, but I'm super happy with the new pose. I think he looks very dynamic, and overall I think I achieved what I set out to do. Again, I didn't want to, sounds kind of bad, I didn't want to spend a whole week planning the miniature, but I wanted to give something that you guys can appreciate, and I think this plague bearer is just very unique looking now. The pose is very commanding. Honestly, he could be a herald or a unit champion, and I'm just really proud of everything, having to match it, especially the nose, the teeth, the whole arm being sculpted, and just really happy again with the pose. And this plague bearer will be going to my friend Paul Stanley. The way I chose you guys, I put all of your names on a Google Doc, gave you a number, and I rolled some dice. And Paul, I hope you will enjoy painting this plague bearer. He was such a fun model to sculpt, and honestly a little bit sad to see him go, as I really do like the pose, but I know he'll be going to a good home. So this is the plague bearer. I will be back with the Nurgle champion. And here is the Nurgle Chaos Warrior champion. I really made him a bit more grotesque looking, not really sure why. I think I was partly inspired by my Bile Trolls, the way they do Nurgle characters and creatures during that like mid 2000s, but I'm very happy with the change. At least he is very unique, and I think definitely this guy looks more related to Gutrot Spume. If you know that guy from the end of 8th edition, I believe, and Age of Sigmar, he's that Nurgle champion who has like a plague fleet, and the way I sculpted the tentacle arms and gave him that nautical pseudo octopus looking face, you could say this guy is a captain of a plague ship. I will say I'm not sure why I cut off the original arm. It was also tentacle like. I think maybe I didn't like how far up it was on the staff, so just resculpting it maybe got me more of the pose I wanted, but I really am proud of this guy. He was quite fun sculpting the whole head, and again, at least when you play with him, he will be a one-of-a-kind looking dude. This guy will be going to Hobby Hippogriff. I'll put the name right here. Again, please find a way to contact me so I can ship this guy out to you, and I really do hope you enjoy this miniature. He was really fun, and if you do have a Nurgle army or a Chaos Warrior army, hopefully this guy can fit perfectly well in it, and if you don't have one of those armies, well, he can just be a fun painting project. But there you guys have it, the 2 completed giveaway models. Really fun projects, and I really do hope for the 2 winners you enjoy them, and for the rest of you guys who didn't win them, do not worry. I think every time I hit a milestone, I will be doing something similar, as this project allows me to both practice my sculpting and kind of give back to the community, as especially for this plague bearer, I never would have considered doing the pose based off of the artwork. And for this guy, sculpting the whole head was a really fun challenge. So definitely, I think every milestone we hit, I will be doing a similar giveaway. It just allows me to go through my pile of shame, and because I have so many models, it will be better for you guys to be able to paint them and actually put them on the tabletop. So thank you guys, I really did appreciate everything. Stay tuned for the next hobby video.